Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Talk in Parish League. This a holy edition as we're in the Holy Week, and so we want to welcome each and everyone to this a special edition of Talk in Parish League. I'm your host, Leroy John Baptist, along with our executive producer, Mr. Mark Charles, and our co-host, Mr. Taddy Arundel. And today, again, we're going to be having a very special program for you, another enlightening, another fascinating program, as we're going to be heading into the eastern side of the island. I believe, yes, that's where we are going, into the village of Bethesda. And so we're going to be joined by some esteemed guests shortly, where we will be really divulging into the early cricketing days of life in Bethesda and what it was like. And so before we go any further, let us just do our usual in-house elements and recognize our platinum sponsor, the ACB Caribbean. We want to recognize them for their continued support of the Parish League circuit, and we must say thank you and commend them also for having 65 years of service under their belt, and 43 of those have been associated with the Antigua Parish League, and we are immensely appreciative of their support. And so we want to recommend, for all of your banking and financial needs, be sure to check them right there at the Antigua Commercial Bank. Also, we want to recognize Brands for Less, Carol and her team, just at the top of High Street, opposite the Old Deluxe Cinema, for all of your clothing, apparel, even some electronics. You could get them right there at Brands for Less. Even your sanitizing equipment, they're all there. Children clothes, men, ladies, you name it, whatever you want to get, they are right there. So please check Carol and her team at Brands for Less. Digicel, the bigger, better network for all of your communication needs, internet needs. Be sure to check them right there at Digicel. Also, for the best tasting water, it's Blue Mountain Water. Blue Mountain Water, you can have that there at Mega Distributors right there, and you could get your Blue Mountain Water. For the tasty juice, it's Pine Hill Juice. Pine Hill that can be had from Hutchinson Wholesale right there on the Sydney Walling Highway. Be sure to check them right there. For all of your pharmaceutical and medicinal needs, it's Seco Pharmacy right there on High Street, Temple Street, I think that is right there. You can get them. They're there from 8 every morning until 5 in the afternoon, so be sure to check Seco Pharmacy right there for all of your pharmaceutical needs. And I think Plumbing Electrical Limited, for all of your plumbing and electrical needs. Be sure to check them right there at the corner of Herbert's and Potter's Main Road. They will take good care of you for all of your plumbing and electrical needs. Cool and Smooth, for all of your sporting equipment, appliances, home appliances. Be sure to check them out at Cool and Smooth. Let Amir know the guys at Talking Parish League sent you, and he will take very good care of you. Alright guys, so we want to say thank you to all our corporate sponsors for their continued support to our program. And just to give you a little quick update, Taddy, you'd love to hear this. West Indies is doing pretty well at the moment. 175 for 3. The captain is still there, Craig Brathwaite. He's on 61 not out, boy. He bat like a turtle, boy. Mervyn, 61 runs. He faced 153 balls. Strike rate of 39.87. 1-4. And who else we have here? Kyle Mayers, he made another 50, so he made 55. And Jason Holder, he's not out on 19. So 175 for 3. So good going by West Indies. So far they have a lead of 271. And so it looks like if West Indies is really going to be putting a strong total there for the Sri Lankans to make. So I think we have all our in-house matters resolved. And so Taddy, good afternoon and welcome to a whole week of Talking Parish League.
But hey, what if I say I'm going to go, the best score was good. So I don't want to get the ball in the analysis to cricket, you know what I mean? matches, so I see some hospitals holding it, so I tell myself, oh, I really ever get out of some with a good pitch. And then you have one thing. And then see versus but get a bonus back around the world. There's a function and so can't have the world, so this is a hard for little battery, but it's true. He does say about the I don't understand that. Why? I just said, Janet, I must say, check my dad out. I didn't want to go there. But it was still you. I never take two kind of dance with us. I must tell you. But this one is John Ashford. You know the one that would give me trouble is asking. I didn't think he was bowling. But to dance with you. But then he didn't last that long either. But I tell you the truth. I played with some hospitals that take a time there. Barrage and Arch and Paul and those guys. And those guys are real hospitals. But Arch, you're the one who gave me trouble to be honest with you. I didn't think finger spinners, like left farm, the right hand spinners. I went back again, they tell me, I always say, when we ever get out. Because they don't understand. While I was in the recreation grounds, we played a new pitch. They leave this to a different story to get the fish. Anybody get bowling, they can say spinners down there. But the recreation grounds, that would be a great bowler. That's a guy that get guys out. Then this way we know. The guy has somebody a great bowler at that time. So I say, like I said, my good friend Ash, then Curtly, my good friend who got to school and again and stuff. So these are the guys who are like pioneers of cricket in Bethesda and Parish League and villages, and we have to get to something too. I said, I used to work pioneer for weeks ago. Because some guys from Bethesda went down to West Indies and all that. So they must have done something good. When I was young, when I was pretty young, didn't start hard about it. You see, I would have faced some bowling Bethesda and declining more.
Yeah.
Well, I was one playing against him. I mean, they were afraid to buy the job, but he was famous with that group of people.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Every weekend.
I heard about him. I want to be the man job. Even though I was a star many times. I wanted to play against this guy, guys. That's how he challenged me. And they don't challenges, you know what I mean? And they tell you what, you want to join the East. He is that's all the guys that can have ties. I can't name them. All of this famous is not going to be the weekend,
Yeah.
But Craig was the one that started out most of me. That guy, every week, he knocked on somebody, this and that, and the 10 and the 11. And I wanted to play against him, but time he stopped me, when I started playing, he stopped playing anyway. But I don't get to be in the sky anymore. I tell you, Bethesda had good guys. Pierce had good guys. Those in the village in the east that had real outstanding players. My village seen, so I never know them. I heard of my great uncle, so a man night or something, tell me about him. He did it for me, man. I never know him.
Wilkins wasn't too bad either.
Okay, but I understand. The same man told that my father went of seeing the look again, getting skill up. So I don't know something like that. But he kind of smart, I think he's a white people come from. So these John. And so two John there, also with John, John Baptist. So I had been on a good show. Unfortunately, John Baptist, like I told you earlier, the one who would cast us on the show today, Goody. And he told me, have to get Goody before we can't get him. And then when he came to the studio today, to me, he can't make it because his son saying that we too well today.
Yes, yes.
So unfortunately, we can't go in. I was supposed to have another guy here too, but I haven't seen him. But I said, John, if you want somebody to show is very good.
Right.
We don't need more than one John, but he's a guy who talks father.
Okay.
He was one of the pioneers better as a cricket joke. So hoping to have him today. He told me yesterday he's coming, but I don't know, maybe like Archie, but chance would one late. So that's how I guess with that. Hopefully we'll have him, but if we don't have him, John, we don't want to go there. We can get going, we can get to the cricket, and I was trying to get another buddy of mine, but he's a big preacher man now in Jamaica. He was better as a number 3 batsman, and then we get the over.
Yeah. Canai.
Right?
We call him Canai.
Canai.
Yeah.
That's what he number 3 batsman, brilliant fielder, John.
Yeah.
I was trying to get him on the shot over his Zoom.
He would have been a good person too.
Yeah, but my good friend Kenneth was supposed to get back in touch with me to get over, so we have him on the show. But unfortunately, we didn't get him. But hey, there's another time for him to get him on. So, John, like I said, the Prime Republic, the funeral, like John, a lot of people out of the world watch this show. I tell you one thing now, put your kid on this show, you can't, he goes live in Australia and in India.
Okay.
work out, we got Instagram and live at Channel 8. So we're making progress.
Sounding good there, Taddy. Look like we have quite a bright future ahead of the show. And Mark, I was just laying down the other day and I'm saying we should be coming close to our year anniversary. And so we'd have to really have a real big shebang to really bring in a year of Talking Parish League. And just before I introduce our guest here, I want to big up Jabu. I think his last name is Jarvis. I met him the other day at Eddie's Papon's wheel alignment, and he was telling me, he follows the show. He doesn't really comment, but he follows the show, and I just want to big him up and tell him we do appreciate him logging in and really tagging along with us here. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, you'd have heard him murmuring in the background, so let us get him in officially. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. John Archibald from Bethesda. John, good afternoon and welcome to Talking Parish League.
Good afternoon, John. John.
John.
Good afternoon to the listening and viewing audience. Yeah. I hope that we can really do ourselves well in terms of what we relay in terms of the information in regards to Bethesda cricket this afternoon.
All right, no problem. And next to you we have, this is, please, if I don't correct you, pronounce Kirtley. Yes, so Kirtley, welcome to Talking Parish League, and just introduce yourself to our listening audience.
Thank you very much. I'm Kirtley McGinley, and you would know the name Kirtley because there's Kirtley Ambrose.
But straight enough, I spelled your name with a K. Is it a K?
Interesting, and few people know this, that Kirtley Ambrose was named after me. And let me just say that I am the first Kirtley in Antigua.
All right. Kirtley number one.
Very few people know as well that Zero is Kirtley as well. And I'm going to give you the background. Well, I'm just going to give you the background. I was in the Virgin Islands one weekend, and as you're in Virgin Islands, I mean, they call you to play cricket. In fact, Bethesda cricketer Lyle Carter, fast bowler. Yeah. So they called me to play. So on the field of play, a catch in the air. So I hear, Kirtley, catch. So I said, Tal, one more card for me there for me to near this ball. Anyway, the person take the catch. And after the game, I went and says, well, introduce myself. And he's from Nevis.
Okay.
And he says, yes. And when were you born? What year you born? And we born just about a year or so apart. But what it was, there's a Methodist minister named Reverend Kirtley from the UK. And in those days, maybe even now to some extent, people name their children from off of, these types of, folks. So I was named after Reverend Kirtley. In fact, people in the village still call me Reverend. Yeah? And Zero as well was named after. And the minister left from here and went to Nevis. And that guy was named after
the minister. Okay.
So there you have it. So all other Kirtleys followed.
So
I
the rev was first, then you took the baton, and then you spread it all over.
Yes. Never mind the spelling. But I'm very happy. When Tally told me about this, I was quite keen and enthused, and I'm really pleased to be here to speak about Bethesda. Cricket has made my life. Whatever I accomplish in life has a great deal to do with cricket, in the discipline that it has brought me. You spoke a little while ago about my good friend and our friend, Oral Thomas, who is now a minister. He was one of the contemporaries, one who, people like us, like me, mentored. And we took a charter to Nevis, St. Kitts, for his ordination. And in an ordination service, all that goes through with it. But at the end of the process, one part of the process is the response from the person who is ordained.
Right.
And his response was based primarily on cricket. In that, he had the choice to follow as the man of the cloth or to stay in cricket. That's where his love was. And obviously, we know what he chose. But he wanted to make that point, and they didn't call him Kanai just for so. Yeah? So fine batsman, you know. But I just wanted to add that in terms of the character that I have heard other people speak about, but I can speak particularly for myself. And when it comes to Bethesda, call me anytime.
Well, that is very touching, you know, to hear you make that prelude, because it's something that we have magnified quite a bit every week that our guests sit here. A lot of them have spoken of the impact that the whole cricketing discipline has had on their life and how it has shaped them, not only on the cricket field but even in life after. And so this is one of the real genesis of this program, is where we really try to go back as far as we can to really just unearth the principles, the disciplines that were guiding you guys in those days, and you know what would have really manifested to help you to reach where you are. And so sometimes people will stop me and say, but wait, I'm not talking about West Indies cricket, and and I have to tell them, hey, we're just, you know, going back and really just showing you how we got to this location. Some may say, well, you know, maybe this is not where we really wanted to be at the end, but to show you the foundation why we're here. What is it, something, Teddy?
Yeah. See, let's say you lose my old memory, you know what I mean? I couldn't mention this game, to see a Carter guy fast bowler. And it might be as a battle played in St. Croix. You might tell you might experience in St. Croix and St. Thomas. When it wins, goes the other guy by gasoline, light the pitch to burn it on so he can play. I was playing this match in St. Croix, and my good friend, if you're feeling the privilege of the Jumbo Crab guy, told him about it. And then the guy pulled the shot ball, and when he pulled the ball, he gets as much as something, hit him on his backs, and floored him at the fifth. So now he went over here and said, hey, what happened to you, man? You didn't say I'm giant? Giant thing and nothing, so so I never forgot that, John. So I remember teasing him about that same guy Carter. It's St. Croix.
Very quick.
So he said, I remember you.
That brought back memory.
Very quick.
All right, just before, okay, let me just highlight our viewing audience. Good afternoon, Darby. Nice to have you. Darby saying hail up to the Bethesda family. Maman Herbert, good afternoon, guys. I'm watching from St. Croix. Good to have you, Maman. And we have Joshi, Prakish Joshi. He's saying evening, gentlemen. Good to have you, Prakish. John, just roll back the years and tell us how you personally, how you fell in love with cricket, what got you into playing cricket as a young boy in your village of Bethesda.
Well, it was pretty easy for me because I have three brothers who actually was involved with the game. They all represented Bethesda at some time. Probably not at the same time together. Currently would even have greater memory than me in terms of back then. But my love for cricket really came simply because it was all in my family. So it wasn't really hard for me to pick up. And at the same time, probably when I was just about maybe 11 thereabout, I used to go around the cricket team, you know, and I used to say to my brother, well, I need to face Clydie. I don't know why I was hype on the Clydie business, but more or less to prove to him that I was ready, because he keeps saying, he was kind of a little bit protective of me. He kept saying that, hey, you're not really ready for this yet. I said, man, I'm ready, you know. So that's basically where I started out. But one of the interesting things is that everywhere Bethesda used to go, I used to follow them around.
That's true.
And there was two guys in particular, the late Fillmore Joseph and the guy they call Nelson Chambers. And what I realized from a very young age, these guys obviously weekend, they used to go probably, you know, gallivant and drink a little. So when game time come, I'll be looking in their eyes and see which one and look like they're going to probably yoke. Right. So I'm saying, okay, today I'm going to get my game. You know, so that really stood out for me at an early age. because I used to say to people, that is how I actually get into Bethesda team. When these guys, had a little bit too much to drink, because the team was that strong then. You would not be able to get in that squad. And I was pretty young then. Yeah.
So you sneak into the back door and one of them.
Definitely. But I would be glued looking into these guys' eyes on the weekend to see which one going first. So basically, that's how I actually started out. Along with that, when I probably get to better as a team first, well, I would have to say that Curtly has mentored a lot of us in Bethesda, probably most of us, if not all of us, in terms of youth. And one of the things that I learned, which I never said it to Curtly, is that he has always said, is the man before the cricketer. I always say, the development of the person, the individual, rather than the cricketer. Which I think we have it in reverse today, where a lot of us focus on cricketers as cricketers, rather than the individual plus the other added things that will go with that person in terms of character building. And Curtly was pretty good at this. So I want to give Curtly his flowers while he's here now, to say that he has really and truly shaped a lot of us in Bethesda in regards to, I call it from boyhood to manhood, you understand, which is obviously a process. So that's my take on this first part of it. Yeah.
Curtly, sorry, same person you. How did you?
It's an interesting thing. But Bethesda, like I believe most of a lot of villages, was synonymous with cricket. I mean, it's very little to do then except, play cricket and football. There was no basketball at that time, but certainly in Bethesda, it has always had, a real vibrant cricket team, even obviously before Parish League. So we came up in Bethesda from what the elders, my father used to tell me about a wicket keeper. When I was growing up, he says, "Boy, Isaac, just keep wicket with a marble in his mouth, and when you hear you off your crease, he spit out the marble and hit the ball." All sorts. And those are probably stories to make us feel, it was fascinating to hear those,
Pique your interest. Right.
Interest. But for me, it's what John mentioned there is something that instilled in me. I didn't start in Bethesda team. I started playing cricket as it relates to competitive cricket with grammar school. So
another gourmet. Oh.
So I started grammar school in '65. So between that time when you get into the team, and I get into the team, spend many years before I get in the team. In fact, when I practice, they used to let me feel at long off or mid off, and then the ball going back to the bowler. They will relay that ball to me from down by slip and throw it to me. If you drop that ball up there before you give the bowler, all that is a mark against you. And we always say, why they don't relate to short extra cover first drop. Just send it all the way from over there. But so by the time I played cricket for grammar school up until 1971. I finished school in 70. You have another year to play for school after.
Okay.
So I played until 71. But in that 71 season, I got to a match in Recreation Ground late. And our esteemed father, our esteemed national hero, said to me, I'm not calling any name here because I don't want our esteemed national hero say, so I had to go back, catch a bus, head to Seaton, and that was probably one of my first match. When I reached to Seaton, it was raining, and so the match was delayed, and Bethesda drafted me in at that same time.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's what it is. But I started from there and then became captain of Bethesda in 1972. yeah, and became captain, I think, as well, because I have the experience. You know, I'm coming, all the guys were, you know, Clyde Moore, them were now start to, you know, see the end and thing. And so from that 1972 that I took over with a real, you know, Archie them didn't come in at the time. They, you know, they were yet to come. He speak about following the team. That was common for a man to follow the team, hoping that he will get play. And he have to follow it for years.
Yeah.
I remember when I was making a push for Archie to get a play. I wasn't captain yet. And he came to Liberta. And I thought he was going to play. Selvin Archibald was the captain. And when Selvin called out the 11, Archie wasn't in it. I feel so bad because I'm pushing for that type of thing.
Right.
But that's what it is. It wasn't brother thing. It's what it felt. And so that was in 72. And then in 74, Bethesda won all their matches in the Parish League competition. To get in first class, we weren't in first class yet. To get in first class, you have to win all your matches. And so Bethesda won all the matches in 1974. And then Danny Livingston called me in to pick help pick a Parish League 11 to play against Bethesda, yeah, at the end of the season, which I assisted to think about 3 or 4 men from Bethesda, including Goody was in that team as well. And that was the beginning of Bethesda in 1975. We made it to the first class division and haven't looked back since.
John, the 2 things, what is Isaac Weekeeper guy?
Yeah.
Who is he?
I don't know. I don't know him much. I mean, I didn't know him much except that my father used to speak about him. But those were the people from Bethesda in the early years.
But another thing that John. So you used to see heard him mention the 7th Archibald. 7th Archibald, one of the first guys from the countryside to represent anti cricket. That's Archie over the world.
Yes.
Yes. He's one who broke that country barrier.
Yeah. I can remember that. I remember watching one of the guys.
Yes.
A young guy. And I can remember always Derek Michael. Derek Michael was a big batsman.
Yeah.
So he clicked him up.
He was his bunny.
And Derek Michael said, boy, they can't bowl this guy. Everybody. But some people know. And Ashwell said,
Yeah.
man can't bowl. We go to suffer. Because, you know, crowd watch.
Right.
You know, man, the good can't bowl, but you ask how to.
Yeah.
But that man, you know, crowds up.
Yeah.
But Archie Bowler, Selvin was a good batsman, good fast bowler too.
The said story talking about the taddy. Just the other day we sat down and we spoke about it with the Derek Michael, where he say he can't bowl. And
See, you know
Yeah.
what to do?
Yeah. It's standard. Yeah.
Watching the channel, like, and so. I remember a small guy that was
Yeah.
But I remember those days.
But very few people know as well that Archibald, Derek Michael, went more than just a cricket field. Derek Michael was born, or they're from Blake's Estate. Blake's Estate is just outside of Bethesda. So they know Bethesda well. In fact, I think some of them went to Bethesda school. Yeah? And we used to play cricket at another, and not the area where we're in now. So they used to come there to play all the time. You know, so they know they know the whole situation. But really, truly, I mean, you know, he was he was Selvin's buddy, because when they get together, it was real competitive. And I've seen all the brothers play together. You know, that was Keith, Earl, and Derek. You know, all of them play against Bethesda. We have seen it before. But but that's where it is. But it's you speak about the mentoring. Just before I go on, it's my philosophy, and even until now, that using the field of play to bring out the person, to seek for the better person. And when we mention about oral, those you speak about that, and very few of the guys that I play with are really off the rocker. I mean, none of us are perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
But I feel good to see them, coming from off the sporting field of play and becoming who they are,
I
as
was
well.
saying that John was telling the same guy, preacher man. He was destined to be a preacher man as far as I'm concerned. He may be a good friend, very competitive, but that guy here, the man never get angry with nothing. I was so quiet. It went mannered, he was destined to be a preacher man. They tell me that. They said he made very good friends. Very good friends. I love that guy. By the way, when they competed.
Right.
But you never get that more for him to do right.
John, you spoke about, having to look in the eyes of these guys and see when it was your time, Now, when your time arrived, just run through that experience, you walking onto the field, playing your first couple of games for Bethesda, what it was like, what was the support like within the community. Just speak a bit about that experience for you as a young man.
Yeah, as Curtly said, Bethesda entered first class 1975, and I'm quite sure I played the first season. I'm sure I did, yeah. Because I can remember my first real pair of shoes was a little broadmouth hush puppy. So by the time I bowled maybe about a good 10 overs plus, my hush puppy mouth actually, yeah, more or less, So I remember that experience very well. Yeah, but it was very interesting. It was very interesting in the sense that to make the transition from just being around Betters, playing in a few Parish League matches. Because, strange enough, I didn't play a whole lot of Parish League games because, like I said, it was when I was able to get a game here or there. Because soon after that, we went to first class.
First class, okay.
So I spent a lot of my time, playing first class cricket.
Yeah.
But just to drift a little bit away.
Sure.
I can't remember the year, but I spent a couple of years actually with a second Bethesda team, and that was in Parish League. And I actually played in that team just to groom the youngsters. Yeah. So the whole idea for that was to move these players gradually up to the first class level. I sacrificed that time of going to games with better as a first class team. Well, there are some people at that time probably maybe even think, what are you up to? I'm going to come probably at the first class matches.
Right.
But what I saw is that it's going to have to take somebody in order to move the next generation of cricketers. And I felt, well, at that time, who better to do it than myself, being involved in coaching,
Right.
during that time. So that was probably most partially cricket that I played during that particular time. I actually remember a particular game we played Taddy in Seaton's, and somebody tell me that Bosa said that Majapi from Leeward Island team, so I was already done past 40, so I kind of have a grudge match. He would not have known that, but the person stating it to me that Bosa claims that Majapi. So me kind of may have it in for that particular match, So I ended up made 80 something, but I remember a couple of times I walked down the wicket and smack him over his head. I'm like, you only stopped playing for Leeward a few years. That's all I got, because I had my competitive juice. Yeah. Because playing back then with the players that you would have played with, I'm talking about people like Taddy, and so in terms of a competitive nature, that kind of, I wish that we had situation where some of these guys could have seen the tapes of back then in terms of we performing, time ago, Emma, because sometimes you tell these guys about certain players and they were like, oh, them bush cricketers, man, not having the appreciation for those who came before them. And to me, that is one of the serious problems among our young cricketers. And maybe some of the fault is not theirs, maybe the fault is us, because we have not really and truly inform them enough in terms of our stories. You understand? The things that we would have gone through, even parenting. You understand? A lot of times we did not say to some of these young people how hard we work. We have to get up 4 o'clock in the morning, So they just take things for granted. So maybe some of the fault is really and truly our fault. You understand? And I would just hope and trust that some of these things that we can probably change down the road.
Not cutting you, John, but I think we have to give Taddy and Mark and Budskin and so the Chinese, these guys credit, because this is one of the real purpose of this show, is to really bring out a lot of guys would not have had the opportunity to tell their stories. You know, yes, the Vivs, the Andys, they were behind the mic, but the other guys who were really helping the system to go along, they may not have had that opportunity. I remember when we did one of our earlier show, this guy from Sweets, Crazy. It's Crazy? John Hughes. I mean, this guy was just overwhelmed in just giving his side of the story, and you know, just telling us, hey, I have to come back because I have more stories to tell. And you know, I think we have to give Taddy and you know the Mark and Budskin and so these guys credit who came up with this program, because I think that is one of the real genesis, one of the real fundamental of this program in highlighting those experiences.
I just wanted to touch on two things like that. Because I forgot Kurt mentioned the 1974 team. That was a team I formed again, used gloves. I got into a guidance on the following year. That Parish team.
Yes.
But it was put apart Ash. I mean, it's a tweaking memory. I remember when we beat Saints in 1970s for the first time. You know, we arching you overnight. So, arching batting half. So I had about 8 in arch, I was 16 or something like that. And I went to Archie, went to an Archie tomorrow. He just hold it and get back to the boat. So the captain called and said, what am I seeing your brother? So I said, good, Archie, but I can't see him. You know what? I didn't take senior for now. Tomorrow after the first over, I'll get with it. So said, so done. After the first over, we don't pass it back. But those are the kind of things we had, you know, with our team. They kind of fun. You remember the match action?
Yeah. Oh yes.
That match was a special match for us in the game. We beat them bad now. We wanted a few ones. Nobody to go on it. Boy, I got told, actually I told, all of a sudden, we're playing my win the match. Boy, they come full, about 2,000 people. 2,000. But his good buddy Opan and Cash will knock out the ones. Yeah, but I remember the match distinctly. Actually, he said, the team with here. Our guys are competitors.
Yes.
But when they're the same team against each other, it's competition. Because we don't really lose any match.
Yes.
We don't give a play. We don't really lose.
We probably put up probably 70, 80 something run partnership during the same game.
Yeah. Seriously.
It was a real pressure situation.
Right.
Real pressure. Yeah. I remember that match very well, because I remember a couple of our top order batsmen were getting caught like forward short leg around the bat. These guys had a fair amount of close-in feelers. And I remember that was my second match playing for Antigua. I think I played the first match in Montserrat, yes, and the second match was in St. Kitts. And I remember they advised going out to bat for the first time in St. Kitts under pressure. And everybody said, take your time. So in my head as a young, I was like, what take your time mean? No, seriously, I was like, what take your time mean? I mean, I know everybody there meant well, but what do I, equate by this? What you mean? Take your time, meaning what? How? And I sat down in the pavilion and I map out my innings before I go down to bat, and I decide I'm going to take some early risks. I'm going to play a couple of slug sweeps, and then if they move them out, I start to tick around. And just how I plan my innings in my head work out the very same way. Because by the time it goes up, bap, 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 a couple of guys start to move back and tick around here and there. And a lot of people, I actually believe that I was one of the first person that actually started the slug sweep business. Could have been others too, but I'm talking about religiously. And how I actually started that, I used to practice with one of the better leg spinners that I know in Late Lindy, Scotland. And I always figured
Scott-eye.
Yeah, leg spinners most of the time does have a 6-3 field. 6 on the offside, back then, and 3 on the inside. Man behind square, mid wicket, long on, mid off. And I was like, how anybody could bowl me with 3 man on the inside? Not because the ball spin the other way. I'm going to go that way. And I used to play that shot regularly. Scott, I never even liked to bowl to me. Sometimes he was like, go play the ball properly, you know? Yeah.
Did you better than spin ball before he would have spin?
Eustace Samuel. Yeah, he was highly rated by Tim Hector.
Yeah.
Tim Hector actually felt that he was one of our best spinners around at the time.
Even more highly rated after he cleaned up Vivi down at Villa.
Yeah.
Boy, when they take Vivi Wicket Boy down to the masterpiece, that's the highlight.
But it was really, it wasn't a fluke. It was, it's the first time Vivi would have been seen him. I mean, he cut the ball completely, bowled Vivi actually with the googly, which he worked, where he was very well.
I wonder if that's what Bacchanal was talking about too when he got Vivi. Yeah, Johnny was saying.
I kind of figured he should have sneaked into Antigua team somewhere back then. It would have been difficult just as well because there were some good spin bowlers during that time. You're talking about Cannon, you're talking about Opal, you're talking about myself, Arden Mirage, probably David Stevenson.
Stevenson.
Yeah. So he would have but he was a really good spin bowler.
But he got play in that Parish League all 11 that that we picked. But I just want to quickly just to jump in there.
Sure, go ahead.
Because 1974 was a very important year historically for Bethesda cricket.
Okay.
Had we not have played and won in 1974, Bethesda cricket may have been different because we would not have gone in first class.
Okay.
And going into first class up the ante.
Up the ante.
Right? Bearing in mind that people like Clyde Moore, people like my brother Saku, they couldn't unless they actually came in town and went and played for Empire for the purpose of trying to get the attention of the selectors.
Selectors, right.
Smooth.
Easy on the eyes, as they would say.
They would sing and so.
Mervyn Group. The Soul Searchers. Yes. So 1974, when we were winning, we know the purpose we were winning. And what the purpose was for.
Right.
Is to go into thing. We played a match up in Seaton called Sign Wilkie's, that thing. And opening batsman Leroy and Dopey, Gerald Omar, very fine player. And I don't know if you guys will know a guy named Fanta.
Jasbo.
Right. And Fanta, in those days we say shine. And Dopey says, look, me now bat you. And if you knock me, this game will mash up today. Right? And confusion, anything. So I saw the situation. This match can't be called off because it would be Bethesda causing it to only. There's no way first class going to see us.
Right.
I declared the match I declared the innings at 2. 2. It's historical.
Yeah.
The only team ever to declare for 2 that I know of. And half of the men in that team decided not coming out to field. And another half say, we're backing the captain. My senior players will say, we're backing the captain. We eventually win the match. You see? But I use that just to talk about the level of discipline that you would get even in life. It's not everybody going to go with you.
Right.
But when the chips are down, you're going to find that you get the backing. You understand? And that was key for Bethesda cricket, and we blossomed from there, and
that was a springboard.
That was a springboard because, we for many years, our people couldn't get in. I had to be telling people, listen, even after that, just play your game, just play your game. And then after that situation there, Ulysses Lawrence came in. It was in that 1974 thing. In fact, that was in those days there, you had just clubs like Empire, Rising Sun, St. John's. but you have village teams. But those village teams wear their heart on their sleeve. You play for, so nobody could come into Bethesda unless you're from Bethesda. So nowadays, Bethesda team, people ask me, who is this guy? Who is this guy? You know, everything. But times have changed, yeah? And franchises and all these type of things. So the first man that ever played for Bethesda, who is not from Bethesda, was Ulysses Lawrence. And simply because his father was from Bethesda. That caused many, many meetings before that decision was made.
Wow.
And had he not come, we would not have seen the full level of who Ulysses Lawrence was.
Is, right,
that is no history.
Until Taddy and them actually snatch him away.
Taddy never do a lot of that now. I learned this in this show.
Yeah, it was terrible. That 1975, we expected to have him, and they took him.
We grow the corn and he will be the crop.
Now, gentlemen, in those early days, as you said, there wasn't much to do. There was cricket and football. What was the community support like? We've been through a few communities, where even when we went with MR community, spoke about everybody just being there. What was the community support? Was it uplifting? Was it threatening? How did you guys find that community support during your time?
A little bit of both. Because better as spectators than them very funny. They're easy. Yeah, they're easy to please. they're hard liners. Even up to today, I will say to these guys, especially those who come in to represent Bethesda from outside, I say, these guys are not going to let you get away with no foolishness. No, seriously, and I like that about them. They're going to tell you straight up, hey, if that fault was yours, it's you. Accept the responsibility. And I like that, because I find that young people now, they tend to shift responsibilities. It's always somebody else's fault. Don't let them get away with those kind of things. But Bethesda team was very supportive. Not only Bethesda team, but Bethesda used to have a really good following throughout this entire country. People from around south, people from east, north, south used to follow Bethesda over the years. But the Bethesda spectators, we have some die hard that you're going to see them. It doesn't matter whether or not we're on top, if we're not doing so well, you're going to see them. I remember one particular season, I had a fallout with them, and I asked them not to come and watch us. Yeah.
Wait, you had a follow with the spectators?
Yeah, I tell them stop home. I remember that. I tell them stay home, and I want to come watch Harry. Because we started out poorly, and as we started to make some grounds, then start to sneak back. And I remember we played a game against St. John's at Factory, a game that we should have lost, but we won. And I remember stopping the game in midstream, and I call everybody together and I say, tell me what you see. And some guys said this, they said that, and I say, you see them spectators up there? That time they were on the eastern side of Factory. I said, you see them guys up there? We can't disappoint them. I can't go home and lose this match. And boy, let me tell you, I remember Denny Simon, they call him Sexman, put on a spell of medium pace bowling. I can't remember who was the other bowler. Probably could have been Arthur Goodwin. I'm not absolutely sure. But they're the one who actually pulled back the game, and I remember we end up and we won that game. Yeah, but better as spectators, they can be tough. A guy like the same Eugene Tongue, smart man, fast bowler, very good fast bowler in his time. But when you're around and you hear smart, sometimes you probably get a little nervous because of how he speak. But it doesn't mean nothing. He just mean well for better as a cricket. Yeah.
Just want to tell you, this is the sign he spoke about. I know him very well. I went to a shop, ended up by something in the farm. A big chef, big fat chef.
Oh, okay.
He was a freedom case of passport. That's the big guy you see there. Seriously, that's the big guy. He was no, you see the size, you don't believe that he was that kind of guy, you know, but he's a big chef. Not only big chef in quality, but in size.
Curtly, how would you respond to the crowd community?
There's no question about it. It's a very passionate community, and cricket is, I mean, there is nothing the other day I spoke at a historical session that Bethesda was associated with or was involved with, and I spoke of cricket, and I spoke of education. And those and I say cricket more than just sports. When I say cricket, I emphasize cricket,
right.
and education, and those are pillars of Bethesda, and what comes out of those situations. I mean, just clearly, I think that Bethesda has more teachers per capita than any other locale in Antigua.
Not cutting you, I think I heard sometime that Bethesda was the first community with a school in Antigua.
Well, it's not so much the first community. Yeah, it's where the first school for slaves was built in all the British West Indies. So that's the historical. So where you see the Methodist Church is, that is the site. We're now seeking to get that site be recognized as a heritage site.
A heritage site, right.
In Antigua. So those are part of the history. So those people there, spectators, they see that cricket team. I thought so. And this is why I always push for representation of Bethesda. You've got to be that person that when you come off this field of play, you must get into the community and you must get the respect and you must give the respect, as well. I remember clearly when Gavin Tongue was chosen by the West Indies. That was a big thing for me, and as well. I went under the tree where the guy is staying, and I pulled him aside and I said to him, congratulations and all the nice things. But I said, you just didn't wake up one morning and get picked for West Indies. There's something about Bethesda that caused that.
That's true.
There's something about Bethesda that caused that. If you grow up in a house with a piano, invariably, most times you're likely to be able to play music. That type of thing. So, and I let off that with him. I'm just saying that that's what it is that we seek to do. I mean, and we've seen it in many areas. Taddy is a typical example of how he mentors and how people, they play for him.
Sure.
The teams that he have, they play for him. Yeah. I'll give you an example. His schoolboy team came to Bethesda to play. And I think I stumped all of them, nearly all. And the next time they come back, they say that Taddy called them and tell them, look, anyone I get stumped up there, look, I go out to the team for good. Let me tell you, not one man come off the crease. we can't believe how they just listen to Taddy just so they get instructions. Don't get stumped. And they're not like anybody, that type of thing. So how can you imagine that I am playing them a match and nobody gets stumped? It's unheard of. Mark, it's unheard of. Listen, when I am keeping wicket, my two best batsmen I feel good about, knowing that I'm going to stump them, is Mervyn and Vera.
Mervyn?
Because I know that when they on drive, they're not going to rush back. These fellas are so classy that you never see them struggle for comeback. You know what I mean? They know what it is. Yes, I know that. They know that. But they're classy guys. You know what I mean? I say, but that's what it is. But to answer your question, it's a very passionate community, and they know that they're being represented well, and people like us that are leaders. So I remember that match when Metric shout out to the thing, because you're putting in your all, and sometimes it gets to you, But again, smart man or fast bowler came from those first teams, and they know what they put in, and they may see little areas where you could do a little bit more.
I'll give a just since he is smart man, I'll just give a little smart man joke. I remember we played against St. John's and there was this guy Thomas. What's his name? Is it Raleigh or Huntley? Huntley Thomas. You're right. And I remember Huntley just started to wear glasses. So smart man, he's very jovial, very jokey. He said, why are you doing that glasses, boy? Why not box the thing off her face? Boy, Huntley put some blood on his head.
Talk about that. when Huntley comes in, he said, "Sweet, you know about that." Well, Huntley put on some blood.
Huntley was seeing the ball well.
Smart is got his father.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the family line, they're full of fast bowlers because you have Smart, you have Oliver Tongue, who was as talented as probably any one of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
One below.
Yeah. And you have Gavin Tongue, and you have Viet Tongue, who also was a fast bowler.
Yes.
Yeah. Much people probably would not have heard about
He left
Viet.
after a while.
Yeah. But it's a good family bloodline in terms of fast bowling.
But Taddy, you know something, just before we take a little break, you know, in all of the little communities we go, we find these little family trees in all these little communities. The spring shattered. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here today in the community of Bethesda, and today we are blessed with the presence of Mr. Archibald here with us, and also Kirkley. And that Kirkley, he said, is a springboard for all the other Kirkleys that you would have heard of. And so we're just discussing, you know, the life and time of them growing up in the village of Bethesda, playing in the village of Bethesda, and just life in general. And so we should have had Charles Goodwin, senior, with us, but unfortunately he's not with us, not feeling too well today. So we just wish him a speedy recovery and well-being. And so we just want to recognize our platinum sponsor, the ACB Caribbean, for 43 years of unbroken commitment and partnership with the Antigua Parish League Circuit, and we want to say thank you for that from our hearts. And the ACB Caribbean, they're also celebrating 65 years, and so we want to commend them for their unbroken service to the island, to the country of Antigua and Barbuda, and even spreading their wings further afield. And so we want to say kudos to them. And Carol from Brand for Less, we want to also say thank you for coming on board. Digicel, Cool and Smooth, Plumbing Electrical Limited, Seco Pharmacy, Mega Distributors for your Blue Mountain Water, Pine Hill, you can get at Hutchison Wholesale. And so we just want to say a big thank you to all these guys. And for those who are watching, please send in your text, so we can, if you have any questions for John, Archibald, and Kirkley, be sure to send them in, and these guys will be happy to take them. Let me just big up a couple of our callers here. Sherilyn, I see that you're watching. Good to have you on board. Maman, okay, had you already. Kenny Lewis, he says, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks to all the past players who laid the foundation for the present crop of players. Okay, Young Goodies watching. Javid Goodwin, good to have you. Marlon Richards, X-Man, good to have you. Kumar Rodney, good day, guys. Good show as always. This show is important to cricket. Please ask Taddy. Okay, yes, we did. Yeah, we did speak to Taddy about it. All right, so thanks a lot, Kuma, for your comment. And Maman, I hope you're hearing Taddy a little bit clearer. Taddy is having a little issue hearing you, so just get a little closer to the mic. All right, so that's it for our comments so far. All right, so feel free, please send in your comments or any questions or any comments you want to make to these two gentlemen. I'm sure they'll be happy to make any response there. R.L. Glee Stewart, I don't know if that's I don't know who that is, but he puts a smiley face. Good to have you, whoever you are there. Now, gentlemen,
I want to just jump in a little bit.
Sure.
Because I don't want to go from this pioneering thing in Bethesda. Because that guy Goody,
I'm coming to that.
that guy Goody,
Yeah.
is a pioneer with Bethesda too.
Yes.
Guy Goody played on the team with two Premier Prime Ministers, and one the Amory and the Daphne winners with Grenada right now. And they
Michelle?
Mitchell.
Okay.
The combine youth Leavers winners combine. That Goody was a pioneer for this, not only Bethesda, but in Irish, and so I played in the team. And Irish, when I say Irish, and he had mentioned that to me. Said Dr. Michelle has asked what Goody, and you know, that's, so Goody, I guess there was She played on the West Youth Team too.
Yeah.
And then they played on the John.
1977.
That is the same league. We had a team, big team too.
Okay.
Yeah, so don't tell him. He had bowling so bad, he didn't know he was bowling. But you're doing pretty well. You know what I mean?
Wait me by that.
Let me remind him, he very intimidating as an batsman, but we played at Charles. I'm sure you forget this one. And I remember Andy Roberts, we had a conversation and he asked me if whether it be arm ball, straight ball was always quicker. And he said, why I don't work on a ball that has the same pace just like my off spinners, which had make a lot of sense. So I started to work on it, and I experimented it out on Taddy in a child. He got a one ball. He just moved his off bail.
I working the ball. Boy, clean up.
I remember when I got him, he said, oh gosh,
Yeah, but allow me just to, sure, it would be remiss of me if I didn't speak a little bit on Goody. Goody was the first player to make the national team from Bethesda. Very interesting, and he made that national team from since he was going at Hill School. Yeah? And so all of us, that play with him, look up to him for that awe. And it was after time, it just seemed as if Goody was just a fixture, going nowhere. Every year, he's still there.
Just a staple.
Just as a staple, as a staple there, I hardly ever think that Goody ever captained Bethesda. But he was just, not that wasn't his. He was his, I believe, there was just to be there, and be part of that building. But he certainly was a building block, and one that,
A solid foundation.
Yeah, solid foundation.
Very competitive.
Yeah, but there's a difference.
Very competitive.
Yeah.
He died in fighting accident.
Okay.
Very competitive.
After was that. Was a competitive.
Yeah, oh yes,
Yeah.
oh yes. You would get under their skin.
Yeah.
John, Taddy just mentioned that you represented the West Indies youth team. I think.
Yeah.
Just speak a little bit about that experience there. Playing with the other islands there.
It was in 1977, but that was my only year of representing Leeward Island youth team. And when I got in the team, I was like, where was I the last 2 years? Because I saw some players study. Some of these guys couldn't pass 10. And I'm serious. Some of these guys couldn't pass 10 and they were playing like 2 years before for Leeward Island. So I was like, where was I the last 2 years? How come that was my only 1 year that I played? I couldn't figure it out. Seriously. But that particular year, we had a lot of off spinners who did pretty well, just like myself. Some took even more wicket than I did at the time. But what I got over what I got over them with, it was my batting, because we played against England in St. Kitts, and I remember that game very well, which I scored 75 not out. And what happened during that game? Austin White up from Montserrat, he Whitechapel a English dude. And yeah, and the English dude, when I was batting with the last man, the English dude, Whitechapel, the next guy.
Okay.
So he put me in a situation, I probably could have got myself 100 there. And he was nice enough. He came up to me afterward and he said, usually I would never do that because he seems like a pretty good guy. But he said he couldn't stand Austin. Austin really was kind of full of himself a bit, some people would say kind of boss, but he was like that. So he said usually he would not have done that. He would not have out somebody like that. But he said just to get back at Austin, he basically did that. And I remember playing in we played only one, well they call it a test match in Trinidad. We were supposed to play two matches. One in Guyana but because Colin Koji Jr., he, which is Chris Koji, and there was another player who went to South Africa during that time. They could not travel to Guyana.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That time,
Chapman situation.
your brother,
Yes.
you know, they couldn't travel to Guyana, so we were robbed of
That
one
opportunity.
game. So we played in Trinidad. I can't remember. I think they beat us. I think England beat us. Yeah. In that particular game, I bowled well, but I did not. I think I only got. I got 2 wickets. Sorry, I got 2 wickets in the game. I remember dropping a bowling card. Up to this day, this big finger, just a few days ago.
It remind you.
It was irritating me. It was that long. I got it kind of knocked back. Yeah.
And that's over 40 years ago.
Yeah. And I can recall, because I tell people at all times, I probably can count how many catches I would have dropped in my career, especially bowling card, because you're not going to hit back a ball to me and I'm going to drop the ball easily. And hear how this come about too. Myself and a goalkeeper used to go, we have a beach just on the other side of Bethesda, on the eastern side. Yeah. Okay, Bayside that is. So we used to go up there
There's a difference.
with a hard ball, and we used to throw it like left side, right side, so we used to dive and catch the ball. He as a goalkeeper getting his practice, and I as a bowler getting my practice. So my mindset was, if I can catch a wet ball, when the dry one come back to me, there's no way.
You should drop it.
As a matter of fact, there are a few guys that have bowled on cart and shed a few tears. The sway that I picked them up, Enoch Lewis did, and Leon Stevens did. In Charles too. Both of them, I'm talking Mervyn, inches off the ground. When I tell you inches. Yeah. And a lot of people, it was work that was put in. That was no fluke.
Fluke, right.
And a lot of these youngsters need to understand these things. I just tell these youngsters, I used to go down by a place in Bethesda called a self-catch, by myself. I go and I mark my 3 stumps on the wall, and I go and I'll bowl hundreds. I say hundreds because I know it's in the hundreds. 2 hours of bowling, just bowling, go back up, pick up my ball, walk back down. That teaches you discipline as well. And a lot of these youngsters, you keep saying to them, you know, you got to sharpen your skills year after year. If I'm an off spinner and I only have a half break, within the next 2 years I should develop some other ball. And within the next 2 to 3 years I should come with something else different.
A continuous development of your product.
And that is my problem with the younger generation of cricketers, not doing enough for themselves.
Yeah. I agree.
Let me see, somebody just came in here. Who's this? Everton Bridges. Great show, fellas. Good to see my schoolmate, Mr. McGinley. So that's Bridges. They are coming in. Now, gentlemen, back into the community of Bethesda, because one of the things that we have found is there was some real serious rivalry among the different communities, around the island. From your perspective, Curtly, who was Bethesda's main competitor, or should I say, who you would not want to lose to, who you could not sleep at night?
Well, it's not hard to find Liberta. Even until now. I mean, it's just it's the rivalry that's the big match, for Bethesda every time. Yeah, and even with the young folks out there now, whether we go there or they come. In the earlies when they come, some umpiring situation, you know what I mean? And it's not to say whether if we have a Bethesda umpire, it's going to be a problem. If we go there and they have a thing, but that was the rivalry. I remember we were playing in Liberta, and they had, I forget his name now, a left-handed, batsman. And Clyde got him caught behind. I took the catch. And the umpire said not out. And by the time the umpire say not out, you see he tore off the glove, and you can see which part the ball,
Right.
and that type of thing. But clearly it was two good sides I mean, I was a young person playing against Liberta, but glad to be playing against Mohammed. What a player.
Yeah.
And it was, it was just one of those kind of, situation there, So when you have Mohammed on one side and you have Goody on the other side, those are stalwarts, in the game. Yeah.
But Bethesda was uniquely placed. Bethesda, right when close by David Liberta, close by English Harbour, close by Newfield, close by
Freetown.
Yeah.
Even seeing the far for them.
Yeah.
So but the most respectable team was Liberta.
Yes.
But English Harbour is a good guys.
Yes.
The one that face of guy they would take that.
Yeah.
You know, the people, a lot of people.
Yes.
English Harbour is a good some good batsmen too. Don't know what guy.
Yeah. They have some good, but
Liberta,
yes.
Liberta people,
Yeah.
very competitive.
Yeah. But Liberta
Has always been.
Yeah. And
John, for you, would it be Liberta also?
Yeah,
at your time?
and for me personally, I don't like no one team beating me too often. I really don't like it. It's something that I detest. So I get my motivation from determining that, hey, I can't stand this. I remember when I was in St. Martin and we used to play against Anguilla. That probably my first 2 years in St. Martin, and I used to hate the fact that when they beat us, we have to go over into the dressing room, shake hands, and Cardi Gankana would be gloating. I remember kicking down a fan in St. Martin, a Jet Li kick, just mash it up, like bam. But in my mind, in my head, I have to get across a message to these guys, and the message probably didn't go across. Because that wasn't Anguilla then, it was Nevis, sorry. That was Nevis when I actually kicked down the fan. Because we had gotten bowled out in the first session of the day. The most word me ever get now, St. Martin. Them decide, well, hey, I'll now come back and watch you. And I remember that afternoon, I pulled the team and I was going to have a meeting with them on the field. When I look, I see all of St. Martin, just the back of us. So I take up the whole team. And I walk them and go on that tree. And we go and we talk, devise our strategy, what we're going to do. And you wouldn't believe, we came back in that game after being bowled out from one session and we beat Nevis outright with all the stars during that time. But the Anguilla situation, I remember saying to them guys, look, let me tell you something. I'm sick and tired of having to go over in those guys' dressing room. So let them start to come in our dressing room. And sooner or later it really did start, where we started to beat Anguilla much more than they were actually beating us. I don't have a problem in losing, I really don't. But I have a problem when I'm losing games that I should have won. Losing to any one team too often, those are the things that I really dislike.
Now, let's now just look at some personal performances by each of you that you would want to remember, or that you remember over the years. And we're speaking about now playing with Bethesda itself. Some of your personal highlights that you may want to highlight as some of your best performances on the circuit. Curtly, you understand?
Let me start.
When you stump out the whole team.
Well, it's an interesting situation with me because when you hear of me playing cricket, a lot of people will know me, one, as Bethesda captain. That because I captained Bethesda younger than anyone else and longer than anyone else. So lots of people speak about, me as Bethesda captain. And then lots of people speak about me as wicket keeper and speak very glowingly of me as a wicket keeper, and so they should. Yes, yeah.
The record speaks for itself.
The record speaks for itself, yeah. And but not as many people speak of me, particularly in these days, too much as a batsman. And I know I didn't do badly, but the team that I had when I was playing, I felt that I was more into captaincy and so on without my batting. Fact of the matter is, the records show that in 1975, I probably topped the averages in Antigua in batting when we came in that first year. Yeah? But, through the years, when they have people like Archie and these fellas and Michael and Emmanuel and Howard Warner, Swingy and so on, it was a good team, as well. So I would say that primarily, and then as you start to grow up, you start to look about wicketkeeper batsmen, right. And not the wicketkeeper itself. We're now finding out how important the wicketkeeper is. That little difference that makes the difference between a wicketkeeper and a wicketkeeper as well. Yeah, but I mean, I remember one thing as you asked about that. We were playing against a combined team. I remember that very well. A combined Bethesda. Archie was captain, and they gave us 200 and something to win in the afternoon. And I asked Archie to let me open, because I was an open bat, but film thing. And to go after the chase. I got 100 and something in the afternoon. I had to take out my wife. And when I was batting, I happened to look down, or somebody said to me, I saw my wife down there, waiting, waiting and so if I didn't make that century and we win the match, I don't know what I'll be able to tell.
You won't have any valid excuse.
Yes. and that was Parish League team had all the top fast bowlers at that time, along with Everton Irish. Yeah, so that was, I remember, Kingsley Irish. So I remember that very, very clearly.
But Johnny Geiger's interview a little bit.
Sure.
Okay, I told you earlier when we started, there's a guy named Patrick, one of the most batsmen in history.
Yes.
Because he was not involved in Edgerton scratches. Yeah. Very classy batsman.
Yes.
Very classy guys.
Yes.
Very security ones.
Curly was Edgerton.
Those guys that say cut night guys,
yes.
Those are classy guys.
Yes, solid guys.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like, there's another one, I never played much better. There's one a Cruyff.
Yeah. Cruyff played for us for some time.
Yes, powerful. Clean.
Controversial guy.
Clean. Yes.
Competitive. Very competitive.
We prefer to play him at home, because if we play him abroad, there's going to be a fighting. The decision is to pick him to go over in Cedar Grove. No. You know what I mean?
He's a home-based player.
He's a home-based player. You know what I mean?
Archie, what about you? What are some of your best performances that you could
probably
highlight?
I would say against Liberta. Mark, you have to remember me not so young, the back not as young as before. Probably against Liberta, I can recall scoring 100 against them, but what was satisfying about it is that I always like to play against the late Hayden Walsh, because of his competitive nature.
Yes.
I like when he's in a corner where he's, you have the upper hand of him, because he'll be arguing with his players, especially his brothers, stuff like that. And I remember Wade Walsh was bowling, and I was picking him off to the inside. So Hayden was like at the other end, bowl outside the half, someone. Chick was raising his hand, but what do you do? And that's what you do. But then what he didn't realize, the eastern side, the boundary is short and it's down a slope.
Yes.
So I just move across a little bit and just use some wrist and get it down there. What is a push? End up being 4. But Chick really, he wasn't bowling badly. At the end of the day, there are times when you have to give a batsman the credit, sometimes as well. You have to give a bowler the credit. And that day, Chick was really frustrated with his brother, because he was like, a man outside the half, somebody bowl. And he was like, well, if you bowl outside the half, so how come you hit it down there? Well, obviously, he didn't figure what was going on. But that was
they're very competitive.
Probably one of the performances that stood out for me, and knowing well it was against Liberta too. My good friend Hungry, I hung him up a few times and misflied house roof. He came out say he had an ankle issue, but I don't know if he looked too hungry.
Never blown a name farewell.
But he's one of the fast bowlers that I respect in Antigua because hear this. It wouldn't matter how much you beat hungry. He had a smile on his face and he running in. Nothing disturb him. Unlike any other fast bowler.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. So
I tell you, I was eye-opening one day at Bethesda against Liberta. And that was a season when I just wasn't feeling in touch with myself. And Hungry bowled a ball to me, a short ball. And by the time I get back to hook or whatever, the ball touched my puff and go to the wicket keeper, and the umpire say, umpire gave me out. And I said to myself, what do you mean? And then I just quietly walk off and say, if a man a bowl this quick and touch you off, what are you going to argue for?
Let's get out.
Just get out. And always remember that, you know what I mean? No, the ball hit the ball, but it touched me here. That's the nice. Anyway, you can't argue and say, I hear he hit me. No. No. What I say? You know, when he touched me here.
Sorry, demand, glad demand.
Yeah.
No more that.
Yes. No. I say, life and limb. But Hungry is, I played Hungry for many years after, you know, with Parish League. St. Paul's and you know, fine. Not only a fine bowler, but a fine guy.
Good guy.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, as we look to come on the final stretch of the program, something that I've seen come out of this discussion a lot from both of you, it's a slant to leadership and discipline. I've sort of figured that out in a lot of your presentation. Let's just talk a little bit just about how important it is. One, John, you spoke about leaving the senior team and playing with the Parish League team to offer that, if you want to say, that conduit, that linkage. Just speak a little bit about how important leadership and discipline is, especially for our youngsters of today.
Well, it is absolutely important, and we can say that is one of West Indies' problem today. One, leadership. Two, discipline. And even the last game that we against Sri Lanka came back in the game and was able to hold out a jaw simply because of the fact that they are much more disciplined than West Indies. Even the fast bowling department, if you look at them, they might not be faster than our bowlers, but they are more disciplined. They will bowl consistent line. But and discipline really is discipline is not saying good morning, Miss LV, how are you doing? You understand? Discipline is a host of other things. Turning up early when you should be turning up for a game. Being able to get up 5 o'clock in the morning and go do your 3 miles. If we don't get back here, which is what I consider as our foundation in regards to the discipline of our younger generation, you can't wake up in the morning and see nobody on the road running, no young people running, no young sportman, that is. I haven't seen that. I used to train twice a day. Find the time in the morning and in the afternoon. No mommy, no daddy have to wake me up, no brother, no sister. I wake myself up and I hit the road. Guys used to literally afraid to come run with me because they're going to have to take a time out. My good friend Ivor Lawrence, he used to run with me, and every now and then, you know what the excuse would be. He have to go to the bushes, but I know he can rest off. You know, so really and truly, it is something that is very critical. It is something that that's where we're supposed to be starting in regards to discipline. Discipline is greater than what you're doing with the bat and the ball. You understand? A lot of people nowadays, and I'm going to say it, a lot of coaches, I find that we're so technically orientated throughout the entire Caribbean. Everything that we see is a technical issue. A commentator sees something, it's technical. Spectator sees something, it's technical. Everybody is, what about the psychological side? What about the mental side? What about the tactical side? What about the fitness issues? You know, so discipline have got to be the order of the day, and it's something that we got to go back to in the communities, taking these little 6 and 7 and 8-year-old, bring them out, show them on the cricket field, get them on bat and ball, let them just start to knock around a bit as you start to see the talent to come out, getting up to the 9er, so you start to groom them, you know, the fundamentals of the game. I'm a person who watch basketball a lot, and I see professionals train every day. All these guys do is simple fundamentals and do it consistently. That's all they do. Simple little things. But the simple little things, we take them to like, what them they do? Like a jokey someday. It cannot matter to your game. It is a simple thing. Like they say, a little hinge swing big door. You understand? You have to be on big hinge that will swing the door. Little. And sometimes that's where we got to start, you know, the little things, little improvement, you know, but discipline must be the order of the day. I have a simple philosophy in life whereby if you allow a youngster to get past age 3 and you haven't set the standards and your boundaries, you have lost the battle. I work in the schools, and trust me, I'm telling you, I remember a headmistress came up to me and she asked me, what are we going to do with these young people? I said to her, when they come in day 1, stamp your authority on them and don't ease up. Don't ease up. Because young people, they're smart, you know, and they know when you're bluffing, you know. All you got to say to a child a couple of times, if you take up that thing, I'm going to hit you. And you don't hit them, they know you're bluffing. So, and in regards to the leadership issue, we need to have like where the community-based programs that we actually bring people in terms of having leadership, you know, situation, because we're lacking in leadership. If you look at teams like Australia, and this is a different leadership, you're talking about captaincy, like you're supposed to know where the next leader come from and the next one and the next one. In West Indies team, you don't know where the next leader come from. You have a scratch around. So I'm suggesting that we need to have, why not have, I mean, Viv Richards was one, Clive Lloyd, they were really good leaders. Why you don't have these guys probably going around and doing some,
mentoring?
and you don't have to be those people alone, different people outside of the game, but I'm just calling some name. So I agree with you in regards to those 2 particular areas.
Curtly?
Yeah, I agree with John. Obviously, it's a broad subject as well. But speaking specifically when I was growing up, you know, in the cricketing world, particularly with Bethesda, I generally focus. I'm a people's person, and I focus a lot on, you know, on people management skills, you know, and we use, whether it's the football team or the cricket team, you know, we use that. I use that. It's no better time I get a group of men than, you know, I can't get them in church. I'm involved in the church. I can't get them anywhere else, but I can get them on the field of play.
Field of play, right.
Yeah,
right.
and I use that. They respect me on the field of play and off. So that was the area that I have, and I still think that there is room for that still. Yeah, that there's room for that still, and become a part of the community. A lot of things have changed now, and maybe for the better in some respect. You have coaches and consultants and you know, and all that is well and good. But again, I think that that one-on-one, you know, with people is a skill set that I believe that I have, and I utilize that. And there are people who have that particular type of skill sets, and so whatever they may have that they see can bring about, you know, some positive change, particularly to young people, and within a team-oriented approach. I think that can be used as well. Yeah.
Let me quickly, because I know time is upon us, let me quickly say to Taddy, no time for sure with some praise in terms of what he would have done over the years for Parish League cricket. I mean, that is, apart from you doing a job, I mean, that is some serious commitment for the time period that Taddy has been doing this thing. And I remember one afternoon I went across Rising Sun. I kind of sneak across Rising Sun, see him doing his coaching bits. And he was doing a particular drill where he was just literally rolling out the ball and the batsman and them were judging the singles and stuff like that. And about 15 years after, Mark, you want to cripple me. About 15 years after, I saw the very said situation online. So I would like to say people like that is before their time. So we shouldn't feel a way to not give these guys their flowers while they're alive. And too many times in Antigua, we wait until somebody die and we say all the wonderful things. Makes no sense. It doesn't make no difference to me. As a matter of fact, it's something that I am totally against, hearing people showing all these things to somebody who's already dead. That don't make a lot of sense. We need to change our mindset and show the praise, the necessary things on this person while they're alive. So I would like to say to Taddy, well done job over the years. And to Anthony Martin, to Devon Thomas, to Gavin Tong, I'd just like to say to these guys, if they're listening, thank you guys for your contribution to Betters the Cricket, of wearing the maroon and white, even though it might not have been for, say, a 10-year period, matters not. Because what a lot of people don't realize, Anthony Iroots Martin, for somebody to switch from a fast bowler, becoming a leg spinner, making West Indies team, that's not a good achievement, that's a great achievement. And I hope a lot of people can really look on it. So I say, show praise on these guys. My greater moment is going in Betters and see those 3 pictures up of these guys and coming out of Betters. Yeah.
I must say that coming from Archie, you never feel proud. Archie is a special guy,
Yeah.
But I must tell you something, because imagine something what I would say while ago that he says a lot to me. I tell you why before I get to where I want to go. I can remember 1988 or something, in 87. I was in St. Thomas with the Parish team. I was watching tennis. It was the same body, Everton Bridges also another body. And I can remember John. I can recall, maybe I said on the show before now, that they're watching the ladies tennis. And one of the commentators said, why England can't produce no good tennis players? And the American lady said, one American commentator, well, no, England is a very tiny country, So she said, tiny country, England, tiny. Texas is bigger than England, But he said to say this, well, Auntie said England said so, for Iroots and those guys from Antigua, and you can find them when you see this team, he says a lot. He says a lot. Not only from Antigua, because when you come to Antigua, you have to do maybe 4 tables with somebody, so other country, he says tremendous thing from Bethesda in Antigua cricket. Pay attention to that. When I want to go back to something, she said earlier, if I something going back to say earlier, and he mentioned about who made Captain West Indies. That's a hard job. I tell you why. How many guys in Western team that get a certain pick?
Not many.
It's your volunteer duo. Now the captain of this team, the guy in the team.
True.
So that's the part of the West Indies and leadership. Can they really hardly might get playing cleverity on the team? Hardly anyone. Then they get consistent with the performance as the batsmen.
Right.
So that's like easy for them. I can understand that. But I was telling Ash and Kurt for coming today.
Yes.
Okay, see, John, this is kind of showing what we were talking Parish League historically. These we were talking about getting to the nitty-gritty of the village and community. bars, guys, that people forget. You know, like I said, like my good friend Cody was a Parish, he was standing up by the door.
Yes, yes, yes,
And if it's set up, Cody will be there.
yes,
Except sometimes the water umpire,
Yes.
turns up, they play St. Paul's match.
yes, yes.
Before it comes to one, you turn it down. What he used to get, you know. So it's just a fight on St. Paul's.
Yes, yes.
If we can avoid it.
George Ferris is saying, good afternoon, honorable gentlemen. Great show as usual. Bethesda was very hard to beat. They were the toughest team in my time. Okay, gentlemen.
In closing, John was saying, if you close
Before you close it, Taddy, let me just get two things out of these guys quickly. John, you just spoke about some of the recent guys who would have made it, and also we spoke about earlier, I think it was Curtly who spoke about the guys having to leave Bethesda to come down to get that opportunity. Quickly, just maybe 3 to 5 guys you could mention who, if that barrier was not there in terms of coming from the country, who you believe could have given the same playing field, the same opportunity, could have made it to the Antigua team, maybe even the combined Leeward Islands.
Yeah, but clearly, Clyde Moore would have walked into any Antigua team. Yeah, that's one. My brother Leroy Saku, an open batsman as well. Swingy Warner took years before they actually say, let me bring you in. Then you have Lindy Scotland. Lindy Scotland for years, the best leg spinner in this country, left arm. And because he couldn't play because he was a Rastafarian. And we had to beg him to cut his locks, and he stood by that principle that he's not cutting it. And they said we eventually put on a time, and we eventually got him to play. But by that time, he has seen, he would have passed. Right. He would have passed his best.
His prime, yeah.
We talk about Arthur Goodwin and so on. People we're talking about people who never even make a trials. Because it was unheard of in a sort of time. But Eustace Samuel and so on, that same leg spinner and so on, those are people that could have, walk into an Antiguan team at least in a squad.
I would say definitely Eugene Tong, which we call him Smart Man.
Yeah.
He should have sneaked into our Antigua team because he was very consistent in terms of taking wicket just about every year. Eustace Samuel, I would have his name there too. Ivor Lawrence, I don't think Ivor has ever played for Antigua. He probably got he got trials a couple of times.
Yeah.
I feel he should have sneaked into Antigua team somewhere during that time.
The policeman?
Yeah. And Swingy, Howard Warner, definitely, he should have played a little bit more
earlier,
for, say, Leeward Island. Well, Antigua too. He should have got into the Antigua team probably earlier and probably had a longer stay in, say, a Leeward Island setting. I think he was a lot better batsman than a lot of people. Swingy, a lot of people don't realize Swingy was a run machine. Consistent. You understand? Had the appetite for batting, had the appetite for scoring centuries, and he say a lot of times there's probably no team in Antigua that he hasn't scored a century against. How many batsmen can really say that?
Yeah.
So those are the few guys that I would probably point out. Even Michael Emmanuel, Michael kind of quit playing cricket kind of early, but those are some of the names. Cruyff, Emmanuel. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, as we always say, we never have enough time here, and I guess it's an open invitation to come back again whenever we do this. And so what we normally do at this time, we give everyone a little time just to give a parting shot here. So as we look to wrap up the show. So Curtly, start with you.
Well, thank you very much. It really was a great pleasure. My keenness in coming here, it hasn't been diminished, or I have not been disappointed in any way. In fact, I want to commend the organizers of this show greatly. I don't know if a team or Bethesda gets a second chance to come back. But anytime that you need me for any particular reason, I'll be happy to, be in your presence again. I think it's very important, and for people like us wanting to impart, for the future, because this is just not a history, a history show. This is to say to others out there, listen, you can do it too. There were others before us, and to say to those that we have rubbed shoulders with, thank you. And I want to echo Archie's pronouncement in relation to Taddy earlier, to thank Taddy, not only from my own standpoint, but from all Bethesda Taddy. There are lots of guys that you would have mentored and coached up at factory grounds from Bethesda, and broadly speaking, from my perspective and from Bethesda perspectives, we want to say thank you for that national effort. You know what I mean? Myself and Taddy come from way back, Semperwearans, and we've always, this afternoon he called me to tell me come fast and don't be late. But I won't say when we were waiting at Rising Sun School, waiting on him to come over, the hill, you know what I mean, as well. But he's a good man, and you have done Antigua proud with the work that you have done for cricket, and I want to commend you on behalf of all Bethesda. Yeah.
Teddy?
I must say, having heard that, it's currently way like it's going all the way back in Archie. But I must tell you one thing, I think Bethesda had a big miss. He had eye roots, he had a tongue. But Archie had a nephew, I think he's a nephew, Kevin Archibald. I think he was the most talented of the lot. I had some stint with him at factory, and he was the one that was the most impressive. Very good bowler, pretty good batsman too.
Yes.
But I know, I tried to get him in England, but he didn't get to go. He wasn't the guy trying to get him out here. I don't want to go this too.
Yeah, I got the story there just 2 days ago.
And he he's going to play with last year's Richardson team.
Right.
The big test cricketers and so on of all over the world. I know he not done very well when he got on 42. But that is life, I don't want to go there too much. But I must tell you, having had Archie here and Kurt here, they provide a lot of fun memories to me. I know they won't disappoint me. Because they have a history and that with cricket, and the kind of cricket we played in those days, and it's fun. So I don't want so much about it, but I must tell you that Kurt doesn't know. We have another show on Monday. It's going to target sports with Emma and swimming with Richards. And this Monday we can talk athletics. We got Calvin Jacobs, right? We have Calvin Jacobs, Lester Flax, Steve Brown. Those guys will be in the show Monday from 5 to 6:30. And he know a couple of guys. 2 guys, grammar school guys. So. Yes. So they're going to be here on Monday to talk track and field over there. And those guys, almost all of them to college in the United States. So they'll give a show coming Monday. And next Thursday now, at a show I might have the one should have actually a Clancy back.
Okay.
We have Clancy. He took sick.
Yes.
So they can go. Can't make it over the test series going on. Test match finishes I think tomorrow. So next week I'll try to get him over to come and talk about his experience. He's a party man too.
Yes.
Start up and John will know about that too.
Yes.
As you know about plans we started party up by
Yes.
So looking forward to having next week. And I tell you the following week, Mark, that's the way we're going to talk cricket, we're going to talk yachting. I'm a young guy who can approach a factory and went down to cricket. Bright young boy, he wanted to be like Michael and man into yachting, porting. So like Curtis said, you teach them, you mentor them, you get into the right one. The right path. So you want to be that. Even if guys will come say, but he wanted me to vote him.
Voted man.
So that's the thing we want to talk about.
All right, well, with that said, WNL Maine. I don't know who that is. Great job. Good to see you, Mr. John. So, John Archibald, I guess that's for you. All right, guys. Well, we have come to the end of another show, Talking Parish League. And today, we were in the community of Bethesda. And we had our guest today being John Archibald and also Kirtley McGinley. And so they were sharing of their experience, times in the village, representing the village. Even John spoke about his experience representing Antigua and also the West Indies youth team in 1977. Hope I got it right. Yep, there. And one of the, I think the two major points for me that came out of this whole discussion was the real need for discipline and really leadership. Yeah, I think those were the two factors that we felt a lot. I know John is into his coaching, and Curtly from a young age took up the captaincy, and so those sort of leadership skills were thrown on them. And so I think this is very important for our youngsters to understand these important principles, and they need to adapt them. And another thing, just before you come in, Taddy, I was very impressed with John speaking about him getting up without anybody having to call him, without Taddy having to push him and blow his horn. He would get up, and Taddy always speak about running at Fort James or by the Cedar Valley, and you spoke about just using your beach, Taddy call it a beach. And I'm gonna get into that discrepancy. But you use your backyard, and so it tells I think when Andy Roberts was here, Andy spoke about from round south doing his stuff. So it tells you whatever you have. If you're from Willie Keys or wherever you're from,
doesn't matter.
You can find that little stuff. So Taddy, you wanted to say?
That's why I say one thing, Johnny. Something that we're talking about. Can't wait to come back. And I was can't wait to come back. The food which was begging to come back until last week. I didn't say what I want to get. So I said there's something about our show. That when the guys get here, when we call it memory lane.
Yeah.
Memory lane is not like some match you played the other day. And you make 200 ones and take it back to the brought up scene.
Well, guys, I will tell you this too. I've told Taddy, most of this stuff is learning for me.
Yes.
It's educational for me, and I really enjoy it. And I've been telling Taddy, when you see all this COVID is finished, we're going to have to secure multi-purpose or some room, and we're going to bring everybody into one hall. And even if it's a 2 minute, everybody walk up and say just something, and we just reminiscing on those days. Because, even listening to you guys, you spoke about the competitiveness.
Yes.
But that friendship was still...
Oh, yes.
Friendship always there.
It's always there.
You don't want to lose them.
Yes,
friendship.
yes.
That thing was sports better now.
Yeah.
Look, I keep telling you that my biggest joke was this was my business. My great friend, John, he keep telling me about it. I go down there, he take me to dinner. And before I can leave, he said, "You're arguing strong enough." Before he's trying to get teeth out, the teeth out. What am I saying? Stay with him.
On that note, guys, we gotta go. So just wishing everyone a blessed Easter. Remember to follow the protocols. The beaches are closed from 7 o'clock tonight until 5 a.m. on Tuesday. So please, whatever you do, please follow the protocols, wear your mask, do social distancing, whatever it is. Let's come back safe next week. And as Taddy said, we promise. But Taddy, we're going to have a show on Easter Monday? Mervyn's going to do a show on Easter Monday? Okay, so we will be having the show with Mervyn on Monday at 5 o'clock. And remember, you can get a replay of this program on Friday at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and also on Sunday at 3 p.m. on CTV channel 8. And also remember, we're live on our Parish League, our YouTube page also, and so we're trying all our different platforms to bring the message to you. So on behalf of Mark Charles, our executive producer, Taddy Arundel, our guest host, our guest Kirtley McGinley, and John Archibald, I'm your host Leroy John Baptist, wishing all one a blessed Easter. Be safe.